Well, folks, a legendary ship has reached Alton as we hear this during this interview. It's closing in on Alton, but LST 325, an absolute legend. Now, it's a legend if you look at it without hearing the stories of this World War II ship. And it's based out of Evansville, Indiana, great town. And it goes on the road for about a year. And Alton, one of the stops this year. Did I get that right, Corey Burdett? That Corey is with LST 325.
Absolutely correct.
So you have the LST 325. People see it's a ship, and they may hear it's a hospital ship. They may hear different things. This was, and again, we're moving massive people, massive equipment, massive materials from here across the Atlantic in the European theater. It was the ship that could do everything, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Well, she definitely earned the nickname Workhorse of the Navy, for sure. But the LST, Landing Ship Tank, it was originally designed in World War II to transport, as you mentioned, a variety of different equipment, from tanks, vehicles, troops, supplies, ammunition, you name it. You get it on there, and it would go directly up onto the beaches during amphibious landings, such as D-Day.
And there were, more than 1,000 of them at one point? This is the only one that you can put out on the water, I understand.
Yes, sir. Yep, there was 1,051 LSTs that were made in World War II, and we actually, one of the reasons why this is here docked in Evansville is we made the most. Here in Evansville at the Evansville Shipyard, we made 167 LSTs in about 3 years.
I think that's cool. Evansville, close to home here, and, and that, I guess the A-10 of its time, the P-47 Thunderbolt, you'll still find it on the hockey jerseys. Many of those tank killers from World War II built right there in Evansville.
Yes, sir. Made over 6,000 P-47 Thunderbolt fireplanes, and we also made collectively around 3 billion 45 caliber bullet shells.
Oh, wow! I can only imagine in the places in history where that ammunition showed up, and you talk about a place in history. LST certainly a part of the biggest day, I guess, in World War II. I don't think there's, I guess nationally some people might think there's a conversation whether it's that or Pearl Harbor, but I think just one of the most important days in the history of this planet, D-Day, and LST 325 was right in the middle of it.
Yes, sir.
So tell us about its role then, and in that fateful day back on June 6, 1944.
Absolutely. So the LST-325 was part of over 200 LSTs that were used at D-Day. And she didn't go to the beach directly on June 6th, just due to the reason that you didn't want your ships to go up directly onto the beach until it got secured, because otherwise they could get riddled to bits. So it didn't actually hit the beach until June 8th, 1944. But it did make 44 trips back and forth across the English Channel till the end of the war, going to every single beach except Sword until the end of the war.
Wow. And this thing is a beast. I mean, people think, a barge and a barge carrying a lot after harvest might be impressive on the river, but 328 feet long, 3 football fields, and it's not like it's a sleek little cigar boat or whatever they call them. I mean, it's just, it is, it's a sight to behold, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yep. And it was also, so it's 320 feet long, and it's roughly about a third of the length of the Titanic. So if you want to put that in perspective. But on ship, she also held 110 crew members, including 18 officers, and also held over 200 troops. And down below, in the ship, we could carry 20 Sherman medium tanks or 30 Stuart light tanks. Up on the main deck, we can hold up to 30 deuce-and-a-half or 2.5 ton trucks.
This boat was, it wasn't just a piece of World War II history to some folks here. It was their safe haven, their salvation. I have to think it was it was pretty special. And I know we're running out of time where we get to see our World War II veterans. I can only imagine the stories are powerful when veterans who were saved. I forgot the doggone it. I'm going to fix that. Okay, let's talk about a ship operating in the, I think, just some of the toughest waters in the world, the North Sea. I don't know how you get guys to sign up to be fishermen there, but 600 soldiers torpedoed in the North Sea. I can't think of a more desperate place where you need someone to come to the rescue in short order. LST 325 did that, and I can imagine it was so much more than a boat to the men who were saved by it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and also the fact that even though it didn't go very fast, it only went about 10 knots, roughly 12 miles per hour. But even then, on ship, we could carry anywhere between 2 to 4 Higgins boats, or even sometimes 6. And those Higgins boats can each hold anywhere between 35 to 40 combat troops at one time. So if you do the math, that's a lot of people you could potentially help save and bring onto your ship if you need to.
Well, I'm slow. I like anything important that's slow, so I'm all for it. But what a special, I mean, it must have been something to see those things built because, they didn't exactly have time. It wasn't like, this is going to go to the cruise line. We hope to have it ready in 2 years. They had to have it ready in short order. I'm sure there was some around-the-clock work on the Ohio to get those boats out there.
Absolutely. At the Evansville shipyard, we had over 20,000 employees working over there, to the point that we could make an LST right off the line in about 6 days.
That's mind-bending. Mind-bending. Now, was that another saga where Rosie the Riveter was a big part of the story?
Well, in our case, it's more Windy the Welder, but yes, riveters would also be used, especially with the planes and things like that. But in our case, it's more welders. But yes, absolutely, around 48% of that workforce I just mentioned were women.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so it's been a great marriage because I remember there was something of a competition before Evansville became its permanent home. They were trying to find their way. I know it was in St. Louis, paid an extended visit, and it just seems like it's been a great marriage.
Absolutely. Well, because think about it, like where Evansville is, it's very centrally located in the Midwest to a lot of major cities in the area, like Chicago, Indy, St. Louis, Nashville, Memphis, Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, all of these different cities around here. So it's very, very, within anywhere between 3, 4, maybe even 5 hour drive, which is a decent amount, but at the same time, it's very doable. And also the fact, again, that we were kind of the unproclaimed LST capital of the United States, with making the most LSTs out of any shipyard in the United States. That's another really good reason why it's here. Well,
the volunteers who make this happen, we'll call it the road show. That's an impressive group, and it's not just sit on a boat. Oh, yeah, point over here. Yeah, they did this here and there. I mean, I can imagine there's a lot of work involved in taking this thing out on the road or river in this case.
Absolutely, yes. So usually we take anywhere between 55 volunteers each year, and they are working everywhere on the ship. You have people down the engine rooms. You had people that are up in the con helping with navigation. You had people that are helping with our gift shop that we have set up. So whenever we come into Alton, which we're actually getting very, very close to Alton as we speak. But when we set up in Alton, we have a small gift shop that we have set up in there. And then we'll have people that help out in the galley with, everyone's got to eat, right? And you also have people that are just helping with a variety of different things on the deck and also down below. And it's a team effort. It really is a team effort.
Yeah, that's impressive because that's a time commitment, and you have other stops. Like I said, you're out on the river there for a month?
About a month, usually anywhere between 3.5 to 4 weeks.
Well, that's impressive, and the other impressive thing is keeping. I know it doesn't go out on the sea anymore, but we'll just call it seaworthy. Just keeping it operating. That's no small task, financially or otherwise.
Absolutely. And I know everyone that's involved with the organization, they do it not just to do it, they do it because they feel a connection to this ship in one way or another. And it's just gratifying for me being a part of it, because I've seen how this ship will bring out the best in people, but also it will bring out different like memories and stuff that they might not have either remembered for years ago, or a chance for people that, if they haven't already experienced something that their ancestors have, then this is a way for them to do that. It's a way for them to meet a relative that they've never met, which that's something that we say around on the crew is come walk the decks of history, because that's what you do whenever you're on the LST. You're walking where these guys walked, and you're seeing where they slept, where they ate, where they did maneuvers, and where they, where they worked, where they lived. And these guys just had hopes and dreams just like we all do. And it's just really, really, really cool to just be a part of it.
I think one of the things people should do is take a look at one of the pictures, like after victory in Europe, and those boats filled, every kind of boat, bringing guys back, and just wall-to-wall people. If you start picturing people in those empty spaces, you really get a sense of the scope of World War II, and just the fact so many men from every little town, every big city fought that war.
Absolutely. You had people from farms, you had people from cities, you had people from big industrial cities, all the way to the little small blinking towns that were all fighting for one thing. And it's really cool studying World War II, because exactly, you're right, like not just from the military standpoint, but also just civilian life in general. This was one of the real first times that you really see the United States really just collectively all together just pushing for one thing, victory. And it starts all the way from like kids having scrapyard drives at their schools and competing with their schools to who can contribute the most towards the war effort, going all the way up past enlistment age. And you have men and women that are helping out with like sewing uniforms, flags, bandages, parachutes. You have people helping out in the USOs, the USO canteens, and just, again, it's just a huge undertaking for the United States at that time, considering if you look at it from even a historical perspective, the United States just emerged as a new superpower right after the end of World War One. And we were still reeling from the Great Depression right whenever World War II was starting out. So it was just really cool seeing how fast and how quickly it kind of just, not really woken up the bear, more like woken up the eagle, so to speak. But you know what I mean? Like just seeing how fast it could, like how fast and how quickly, and just how everyone was just on the same page. Let's get this thing done.
Boy, I love the warbirds, the bombers they put up in the air, and the aircraft, and that's fantastic. But I know another thing that makes this special. We said that's the last mobile LST left out there, but let's go beyond LSTs. You don't really have battleships going on tour. I don't remember any frigates or any other ships that I can think of that. I know they have grand places like the Alabama down in Mobile, but it's not going anywhere. The Mighty Mo isn't leaving Hawaii. In general, for the whole naval experience and the thought of the big ships that cross the pond, as far as I know, this is just one of the very few shows, and I'm just going to use the term town to represent the greater 48 and beyond, but yeah, it's rare even beyond the LST factor, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Although you also have the Nina and the Pinta, like those Columbus ships that come down up and down the river. Those
yeah.
But I know off topic. I apologize. But
no.
They
and they I don't know what the Nina could have done on D-Day or Santa Maria. I don't think they would have lasted well against Fortress Europe. But anyway, it was no, but it's a special thing, and again, just a great thing to take your kids, and I know more and more young people are interested in the history of World War II. I mean, they're kind of going their own directions. They're either all about the here and now in pop culture, or you got young people that are just students of history right now, and I know they're blown away, and I know some people, I think some parents are surprised at their kids' reaction to seeing something like LST 325.
And absolutely, you're correct, because that's the next generation, right? Like without that interest, museums like ours are just going to go to the wayside. And having that, like, I consider myself very fortunate to have had that instilled in me very young, but there are some that are out there that are like that, but a lot of them aren't. It's like, especially in high school, whenever I was going through U.S. history just like everyone else was, we heard the big names. We heard, like, MacArthur, Patton, you know, like D-Day and Operation Market Garden, like all that kind of stuff. Like the big stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's important. But I didn't know about this. I didn't hear about this until I was back in 2019, I think, when we did a D-Day event here at the LST. And that's when I really started to hear about it, and I thought it was really cool and everything. And then, so what we're doing is we're helping spread this untold hero's story, and like telling it to who all's willing to listen.
Well, and I know there were things that we learned from World War I, World War II. Those hospital ships, they primarily carried Americans in the hospital ship role, but the goodwill generated by, I know there's I'm not even going to go there, because too many people, when you talk about the mercy shown to the Wehrmacht and the German soldiers, and you separate them from the SS, people just all of a sudden go, well, you're being pro-Nazi. And like some people with their zero depth understanding of history. But I just keep reading these obits. I hadn't read obits in 30 years, but the guys who came here, and this isn't for the interview, but the guys are like, well, I don't want to go back there. I'm going to stay here. And I'm trying to think of if there were any POW camps in southern Indiana. I know there were a couple close to where I'm at. I grew up just east of St. Louis. But anyway, there's so many fascinating things people don't even know about or even consider. But I'll get back to the interview. Geminately, I could just start rambling today like crazy.
It's okay.
This is in the Great Rivers and Routes tourism people. It just sounds like there was a real enthusiastic, welcoming mindset in bringing this to Alton.
Absolutely, and the already we've had a bunch of calls of people who have been interested about it, and we've had a lot of school groups that are interested in coming out. Which this is a fantastic opportunity. If anyone that's listening that is a part of a school group that hasn't booked a tour to come out to the LST, this is a great opportunity for your students to come and see something firsthand. Because being in museums, I've worked in museums for collectively about 8 years now. And from my personal perspective, this is just my 2 cents, but the best way to learn history is immerse yourself in it. That's like smelling it, that is touching it, in some cases tasting it, although I wouldn't recommend doing that all the time. But you know what I mean, like, because you can read books and watch documentaries, and those are great, don't get me wrong. But if you really want to learn something, experience it. That's the key right there. That's what really sticks into your brain. And this is a chance for your students to do that.
So you're stopping short of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay, go ahead.
No, and I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted but you were just saying again about kids, and a great chance to really, I have to think too, it's not only learning about history, but inspiring a love of history. These are the kind of things that light the fuse, I guess, so to speak.
Absolutely. Because I can looking back as a student, And a couple of the big things that I remember just from like field trips and everything was when we would go to these things like Mammoth Cave, for instance. Like growing up in Kentucky, you usually go to Mammoth Cave. It's just one of those things. It's like almost like a rite of passage, but still, it was really, really interesting. And there's a lot of history associated with Mammoth Cave that a lot of people don't even really talk about, which is kind of sad. It's really cool. But anyway, but in this case, the big thing is, I guess, just like you said, inspiration. Because this is what's inspiring the next generation. And granted, I don't know if there's ever a situation right now where we might need an LST. But learning about how it was made at that time, for instance, the guy, John C. Niedermeyer, the guy who made this, he was laughed out of the boardroom the first time that he brought up the idea of an LST because there was a big gaping hole in the front of his ship. And he was laughed out of the boardroom because they said, there's no way you can get that thing to float without it sinking. And he came back the next day and he said, I got 2 words for you. Ballast tanks. And that's, as they say, the rest is history. Because from that guy, we had over hundreds of vessels that are that you can thank for this guy for his inspiration, like nuclear submarines, aircraft carriers, stuff like that we all know of today from that guy.
Unbelievable. And unbelievable. And when people go up and check this out, I know one thing you know, sometimes some people like, oh, why isn't the admission $3? This is not a moneymaker, is it? I mean, this is just keep the mission alive. The expenses, I'm sure, again, expenses for everything have grown, and I'm sure everything involved with keeping this boat going, either in Evansville or on the river, it's considerable.
It is, and like you said, it's everywhere. Everywhere's been impacted in recent years, and the main thing that's also really important to remember about this is that we're a nonprofit, we're a 501c3. So everything from tours, from the gift shop, memberships, stuff like that, it all goes right back to doing what we're doing right in Alton. That's all of that money. It goes right into being able to continue to do what we're doing right now.
Boy, I know there are not that many survivors around, but we still see them show up at reunions. It's got to be awesome when you see a World War II veteran pay a visit because of the dignity, and despite the fact they're around the century mark, when you bring them up to an LST 325 or an old plane or what have you, you see that switch flip, and all of a sudden they're like 18, 19, 20 again. I mean, it doesn't take much and they're back there. No matter how the body, mind, or whatever betrays you with age, it's a pretty powerful thing to see, isn't it?
It is. I have 3. If we have time for it, I have 3 stories for you.
Go for it.
All right. So the first one was a guy who he just came right on in for a tour, and he was a World War II veteran, and I had a chance to talk to him and sit down with him and talk to him for a little bit, and I think his name was Billy, if I remember correctly. But we were just talking, and like you said, he was just a very humble guy. Like, you know, he wasn't like, you know, like, yeah, I was in World War II and I did this and I did that and everything. But no, he was a very humble guy. And I remember him telling me that he went to a variety of different schools. You know how, like, whenever you go through basic and then afterwards they're like, oh, we'll send you to weather school, we'll send you to radar school, we'll send you to flight school, or, you know, like all this kind of stuff. And they, I remember him telling me, he was like, they sent me to radar school, I flunked. They sent me to the weather school, I flunked. They to send me this one and this one and this one, and then finally they sent me to, I think he was a radar tech or something like that in World War II. He was like, they didn't flunk me out of that one, so I stayed there. So again, a very humble guy, a very down to earth guy. The second one I have for you was I had the opportunity to talk to one of the last World War II crew members of the 325 when it was in World War II. He was a machinist mate by the name of Richard Martin, and he was celebrating his 100th birthday. And his family got in touch with us and everything beforehand, saying, "Hey, this guy served on your LST. He's celebrating his 100-year birthday. We would love for you, if you're able to join us on Zoom and wish him happy birthday." And so, yeah, we were just like, okay, cool. Let's meet him, talk to him. And it's crazy for a guy who is 100 years old. He was telling you memories just like they were yesterday. Like, it was just insane hearing all the like different little tidbits of things that he remembered, and just, it was really, really cool to talk to him. But one of my absolute favorite stories associated with the LST 325, and I always try to tell this whenever I'm on tour. It's a good way to summarize the tour, if you will. So when we were in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, there was a lady in a wheelchair that came into the ship down in tank deck, and she requested to come up onto the main deck, the top, like the higher part of the ship. And they brought her up there, even though she wasn't a veteran, she wasn't a movie star, wasn't a famous celebrity, or like just a regular person in a wheelchair. And they brought her up. She wheeled herself over to a certain part on the main deck, and she pointed down right where it intersects, and she said, "I welded that spot."
Oh, chills.
Because the LST 325 was made in Philadelphia. Yep.
Wow.
And so that, again, I just love telling that story, because it's just fascinating. Just seeing, like what you said, just the impact that this thing can have on people, and seeing, it's almost like you hear that thing about like music too, like if someone is like very frail and stuff, but they hear music and something they knew like when they were younger, they start like, like dancing, and like their eyes light up and like all that kind of stuff. It's the same thing.
Absolutely magical. Well, and again, the opportunities fewer and farther in between to meet some of these folks, and I had the pleasure of calling some friends, and it was one of those not worthy moments in life. But as they pass, these machines, and especially one like this one, just obviously become more and more important, because they may not talk, but they certainly tell stories.
If the bulkheads could talk, what the stories it could tell, right?
Oh, my word. Well, once again, just how can folks be a part of the LST experience in Alton?
Sure. Well, we're going to be open in Alton starting tomorrow, the 18th, and we'll be open in Alton from the 18th through the 22nd, and we'll be open 9 to 5 every day. And it's not a more structured guided tour. It's a self-guided walking tour, just the way that we have it set up on ship, and we have over 50 volunteers that are spread around different places, helping with, you can ask them questions, help with pictures, all that kind of fun stuff. And usually I would say it's anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour to walk through everywhere. And there's a bunch of different stuff in tank deck, brand new displays we made this past year that are fantastic. They look great. And they have a lot of information on them. So if you're a reader, you could definitely spend over an hour and a half to 2 hours down there. But adults are adults are 20 apiece, children ages 6 through 17 are 10 apiece, and children ages 5 and under are free. And it's about an hour and a half, once you account for walking around everywhere, looking at everything, and also if you want to spend some time at the gift shop too.
Well, Alton has the speedboat races too during the year. As great as the LST is, don't bet on it in a race. Anyway, just having fun. But, boy, I sure appreciate it, Corey Burdett. And, Evansville clearly loves this thing and hasn't taken it for granted, which I think is special, because I spent time in Springfield, and there are people who say they're sick of Abraham Lincoln. And I know other cities like that, where they're sick of their important historical figure, and and again, that's maybe a select few, but it's just neat to see that the town has not lost that love and feeling.
Absolutely. Well, Evansville did play such a big role in World War II, and it's really cool seeing especially some of these younger generations and everything really starting to embrace that. And it's really cool just seeing where it could go from here. Like there's talks of programs and things that we're already gearing up for this next year, especially with the 250th anniversary of the United States this next year. And we have things going on with that. We have things going on with like World War II related stuff, and with not just our museum, but also with if you ever come down to Evansville, the Evansville Wartime Museum is a very nice museum. And also the Evansville Science and History Museum, and there's a variety of different things that are just seeping with potential, and it's really, really cool to see it.
Well, I sure appreciate your time, and all of you are encouraged to check out LST on the Alton Riverfront. Well, thanks again, Corey.
Yeah, thank you much. Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate it.
All over the road, but I always hate when I have to edit, and I'm going to have to, okay, gee, minutely. It's just one of those days, my rhythms. It's like the timing chain on an old car. It's messy. Hey, well, thanks again. I'll have to check it out in Alton. I have to go check it out down there again. I tell you what, that riverfront is just awesome.
And it looks like they are pulling into Alton right as we speak.
No kidding.
They're right on the cusp of Alton. It looks like it's along Great River Road, right about Illinois 100, like around there.
Great River Road, yep.
So it'll be pulling in no time.
Well, I'm sure they get all kinds of advice, but Old Bakery Beer Company is a good place to be.
Okay.
That's right across the way, and they got a few good places. There's a town 15 miles up the road that has become quite the tourist trap. They're a little more tourist savvy, but yeah, Alton has some gems, including the world's tallest man statue.
Where is that? I heard about that. Where's that located at?
So that's probably about a mile and a half up from the river, an old section of town on Route 140. Was an old college there, private college that became the Southern Illinois University Dental School. They bought it, but they got his chair, and 8'11". I think actually 8'11 and a half. Died at 22 because something happened to his ankle, and it was like some kind of blood clot deal. But
oh my goodness,
I forgot he was 6 foot at 12 or something. I don't know. There were just all kinds of. But I went to college in Alton at the time, junior college. Mm-hmm. And, that's back when people were around who could tell stories. Like an ex-girlfriend's mom, as a baby, was put in the palm of his hand. Mm-hmm. Looked like a Labubu or something. Just great stuff, but he talked like one of those, if you see the old sci-fi movie, oh no. Just because of his vocal cords or whatever, but just an incredible ambassador, and just took a very tough situation in grace, well before the ADA and everything else. So good stuff. They got a museum too. I don't know. It's a little quirky. It's like a combined art